So, I've actually finally figured out how to use a trigger that you can config for a specific prefab or character. Well, not tested everything, but this is good enough. So, this is my trigger, actual separate trigger. This trigger is inside an area, which is this trigger then being used to call up a layer. You can't call an area apparently. That's probably somewhere in some area, but you could call up a layer. So, this trigger have a check to check for any type of character inside that is USSR. So I'm gonna place a US rifleman in here. Nothing happens. Absolutely nothing. The only thing I have is that it comes up a pop-up window and there's a caravan coming up. Then we take a USSR soldier, put it in. There you go. Now you saw I got a pop-up and my caravan came. Also, same thing happens if I try to enter. So, how do you do this? So, I figured out it doesn't mean anything, but you don't need to have the trigger in anywhere, I think. But I have it inside my area, but not in the layer. So, what is it? So, created an area. This area have a layer of a slot which have a this thing caravan. So, what do you do? Yes, the area. You can't call up the area, so you can't use the activation of trigger on the area. You have to. This is should be on init. You don't need a trigger source because the trigger is outside. The trigger is gonna be on the layer. So activation for the layer is on trigger, but the trigger is coming from outside. So the trigger is here. This is a yeah trigger character trigger entity. What I did is I simply just let's see where's it? Trigger here. So activation person. In my case now I just took any character, so player also. And owner faction key USSR, then it's gonna trigger for USSR. If I put US here, it's gonna trigger for US. We can see that later. I can probably also say a specific class or prefab name to take that. Okay, if this type of soldier or if this name of this AI, like a predefined from a single player mode or scenario mode. So I can filter out from this and also use owner faction, but then you can just as well, if you have this prefab, you can probably just remove it. I have any character right now, no custom or anything. Then you take when, depending on when you wanna have this trigger going off, if they have left the trigger area, or if they have entered, or if they've finished actions inside the area. Or yeah, I think that's something else. But so, but here simply just as on the other video with the trigger for the inbuilt trigger, you just put in entity entered actions for my case, and spawn objects and the layer in the area that you wanna spawn. What I noted, you don't have to have the trigger inside the area. You can have it outside. And put activation on trigger activation. So just as simple as that. I kept having the trigger trying to call up the area. That didn't do anything. As soon as I put it to layer, boop, it came up. So let's see. Now I'm gonna put it to US. And we will spawn a US rifleman. sure. If I now put in USSR soldier in here, it should not trigger. Which it didn't. If I put in a US, both. There you go. Now I'm very happy. Now I can start to work.